How's it going, folks? How's it going? Raw. Raw. Was boring as fuck again. Raw. Tonight, June 13th, 2016. New Orleans, Louisiana. Show starts off with the intro video. And I don't know if it was just me or if it's maybe something that they just added, but I happened to notice the Wyatts in the intro video. Don't know why. They didn't show their faces on the show, so who cares? Anyways, after the intro video, instead of the usual pyro, the live camera cuts there to the arena. Everybody's standing on the stage. And Lillian Garcia, the ring announcer, asks that everyone to give a moment of silence for the victims of the massacre in Orlando. For those of you who haven't heard, there was another big shooting down in Orlando. Trying to remember. I think it was at a movie theater. Not sure. I don't really pay attention to the news so much, so I don't really know. Anyways, moment of silence, and they move on. The next thing we see, they hype up the already announced Ambrose Asylum that is going to take place here tonight. Dean Ambrose, of course, hosting with his guests Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, the two men who will compete for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship this Sunday at Money in the Bank pay-per-view. That's right, folks. This is the go-home show of Raw before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So if this is what they're giving us, it's the go-home show. Once again, I am not instilled with a lot of confidence. Absolutely not. Anyways, so we get hype for that. We get hype also for the contract signing, for some reason, that is taking place between John Cena and AJ Styles for their match that they have at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Now, to me, this does not seem like the kind of match that requires a contract signing. It's not a title match. There's no big stipulation to the match. Why is this worthy of a contract signing? Oh, because John Cena's in it. That's probably really their only reason. After the hype we get for that, out comes the New Day to a nice pop. And they start talking while standing in the ring. And for some reason, they're going through their usual kind of spiel of telling their jokes and doing their catchphrases. And they do their usual thing where they're trying to say who is going to walk out as the WWE Tag Team Champions this Sunday. Who. Yeah, Woods is down on the mat looking at Kofi's shoes, which are these white sneakers. And I'm like, what the fuck? He starts shit-talking him, saying, what you doing wearing these old people shoes? And the camera even gets a good look at him, and I'm like, they're Under Armours. What do you mean old people? Old people don't wear Under Armour, idiot. Woods and Biggie are making fun of his shoes. Whatever the fuck. They're like, okay, never mind that. We're gonna just get back on track because New Day rocks. They're trying to do their New Day rocks thing. And the Enzo and Cass music hits, interrupting them. The two of them come out to a pop. And Enzo goes through his spiel. And him and Cass start talking about the New Day guys. And this was probably the only enjoyable portion of this whole opening segment. Cass... Enzo and Cass are kind of making jokes on the New Day guys. And then Cass is like, look, we don't got any problems with you. We got nothing against you. We don't have any problem with those massaging pleasure thingies you wear on your head. The unicorn horns. And I'm like, yes, somebody made a dildo vibrator joke. Because that's what those fucking things look like. You got dicks coming out of your fucking heads. Take that shit the fuck off. Seriously, the whole New Day thing is getting old. All three of these guys are mid-carders at best. Kofi's been in the company for something like a decade, and he's accomplished fucking nothing above mid-card status. Woods has been in the company like 2 years now. He's done fuck all except for holding the tag titles. Big E's been in the company 2 or 3 years now. He's done fuck all. He's basically accomplished the same shit Kofi has. US and Intercontinental title, maybe. None of these guys are ever going any higher than that. I've never really been a big fan of Kofi. Woods, Woods is alright. Big E, whatever. I really don't think these guys are going anywhere higher than where they are right now. Anyways. So after the vibrating dildo joke, Cass decides he's gonna shit on Kofi's shoes too. I don't remember what he said. And then he starts going into this thing. He's talking about Francesca, which is the name of Xavier Woods' horn, trumpet, trombone, whatever the fuck it is. He starts talking about the thing like it's a real woman. Saying, she was out on her own last night. They're in Louisiana. They're in New Orleans. She was down on Bourbon Street with Enzo. And Enzo starts talking, oh yeah, I was doing all kinds of things with Franny. And it gets a little heated until finally Woods steps up to Enzo and he says, I'm the only one who blows my girl. Moving on. Before things can get any more heated, the Vaudevillains music hits, and the two of them come out to a chorus of boos. And the two of them, they talk on their way down the ramp, and Aiden English even starts singing, "We're going to be the next WWE Tag Team Champions." Something like that. And then, the Baldy Club comes out. Gallows and Anderson. And I don't think they got much of a reaction, if anything at all. And they start talking, and they did some cheap heat, something about they made some joke about the New Orleans Saints or one of the other fucking New Orleans sports teams. And I'm like, really? That's generic as fuck. That's how you know this ain't gonna work. I think we can safely assume right here, right now, the Hair Club for men, they ain't walking out Money in the Bank as the tag team champions. Anyways, after that, we cut back to the ring. Enzo and Cass, Cass finishes up with an SAWFT soft, because that's what the Vaudevillains and the Bullet Club are. Or not the Bullet Club, the Hair Club. It's funny. The Bullet Club was a revered and formidable stable in Japan, with Anderson and Gallows and AJ Styles. And then the three of them all left and came to the WWE. And now the Bullet Club is a bunch of punks. You have the Young Bucks, who have been scrawny, short little punks who do nothing but super kicks. Kenny Omega is really the only decent member of the group, but he's stuck in Japan for some reason. I follow Ring of Honor on Facebook, and they posted something here recently about the Bullet Club showing up to some show for Ring of Honor, and it's the Young Bucks and Adam Cole, and I think his name is Adam Page. These fucking short little scrawny punks show up and they just super kick guys. And they look like high school guys who just got out of school super kicking their friends. Like play fighting, you know. So looks lame. The group is lame without AJ Styles, Anderson and Gallows, and Finn Balor. You know, the guy who started the fucking group. Moving on. After the saw-off, we cut to a commercial break. Coming back, we've got an 8-man tag match between the four of these teams. The New Day, Kofi and Big E, along with Enzo and Cass, versus the Vaudevillains and Anderson and Gallows. And again, I just could not care anything about this whole show. I barely wrote down any notes for the actual matches. And somehow I still wound up with 2 full pages of notes. The match was decent. There was a commercial break. And Anderson and Gallows get the win after hitting the Magic Killer on Kofi? Yeah, I think it was on Kofi. They hit the Magic Killer on him. They get the 1, 2, 3. So the Vaudevillains and Anderson and Gallows get the win. Crowd's dead, by the way. Seriously. Crowd didn't react to these guys when they came out, and they don't care anything about them anymore now that they're basically just flunkies for AJ Styles. Sorry, Gallows. I never really liked you all that much anyways. You know, you came in as fucking hell. He was fake Kane for a while. A short while. And then he became Festus. That atrocious goddamn gimmick with Jesse. Biscuits and gravy. That gimmick sucked ass from a straw. And then after that, he was in the Straight Edge Society with Punk. And Punk likes to stick up for this guy. I never saw anything from him prior to that made me think this guy was the least bit worth a damn. To me, he looked like another big bald motherfucker with no talent, no charisma. And that's why they fired his ass. Then he goes to Japan, and he gets over there with Anderson and the Bullet Club. I think that's because Japan kind of has this thing for gaijins, as well as big motherfuckers. If you don't know, there's a lot of big motherfuckers over there in Japan. Some of them are more talented than others. But, yeah. Supposedly he got good over there. I haven't noticed him being all that much different over now that he's back here. But something tells me that's just because they've watered him down. I don't know. But like I said, I've never really thought he was all that good. I don't notice any charisma from him. You know, he wrestles okay, I guess. But nothing different than any other big man, you know. Anderson, on the other hand, is a little bit better. He wrestles better, and he actually, conducts himself better. You know, I think he comes across better on the mic and stuff. As well as things during matches, he'll shout stuff at the crowd, he'll shout at his opponent, whatever. Trash talking, shit like that. That makes sense. So anyways, after that match, to hype up the Ambrose Asylum that we have with Rollins and Reigns, since that's all three of the Shield members, the former Shield members, they decide to do these recaps, big moments from the Shield, from the time with the Shield. And the first moment that they recap has to be, of course, their original debut at the Survivor Series the one year, beating the dog shit out of Ryback and triple power bombing him through the fucking announce table. Or the Fall of Justice, as I always used to like to call it. So they show the recap of that, and then they hype up the Asylum, cut to a commercial break. And coming back from the commercial break, we get another shit-sucking video package of Darren Young and fucking Bob Backlund. And the only gist to this is Backlund is trying to tell Darren Young to save money. And they even get to the point where Young asks Backlund, "How do you save money, Bob?" And Bob very grimly says, "These are my only clothes." It's the thing that he's wearing. His dress shirt, his little bow tie and the suspenders, and his suit pants. "These are my only clothes. This is my only set of clothes." I'm like, motherfucker, you ain't got no other clothes? That's lame. Anyways, I really fucking hate this gimmick, and I'm hoping it tanks just like the Shining Stars did. Speaking of, they'll come up in a little while. After that abomination, we cut to the office where there's Stephanie. Oh boy, oh boy. Up comes Shane, fortunately enough. They talk for a little bit. They do this a couple of times throughout the night. They're talking about this whole who's going to end up running SmackDown when it goes live. Up comes Corporate Kane. Kane in his suit, no mask. He's doing the same thing this week that fucking Teddy Long did last week. None of that, though. He's just like, I actually have some experience, like my suit and tie. I'm gonna, I want to run SmackDown. Is basically the gist from that. Moving on. We cut back to one of the backstage areas. And there's Zack Ryder talking with a bunch of stage hands. And he's making some jokes or something about Sheamus getting punked out by Apollo Crews, and something to do with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, which probably sucks, by the way. Speak of the devil, up comes Sheamus's pale ass, and the two of them go face to face, and I'm thinking, the only thing I can think about when these two motherfuckers are face to face, they both have these full prison pussy beards, and Sheamus with that goddamn ridiculous mohawk. I'm just like, the amount of bad facial hair in this picture. Bad hair in general. And it would have been even worse if Ryder still had his, spike your hair bullshit. That was horrendous, by the way. I have always hated Zack Ryder. I'm just going to be completely honest. I don't know if I've said that before. This ain't a recent thing. I've never liked him. Not way the fuck back when he was part of the Edgeheads with Kurt Hawkins. And I think Kurt Hawkins was way more talented. I think it sucks that he's the one that got fired and not Ryder. Because Ryder sucks and Hawkins was a lot better. He was a lot better wrestler. He was a lot better talker. Had a better gimmick. He was good. Ryder sucks and always has sucked. And I was never a member of the Zack Ryder bandwagon when he was doing his stupid YouTube show trying to get over. You're not gonna get over enough, Ryder. You suck. Go back to Jersey. Long Island. You're a Jersey Shore ripoff. And even if your gimmick came up first, you're still always going to be a ripoff. You know why? Because Jersey Shore was more culturally relevant. Guarantee you. You take a picture of Zack Ryder with his spiked hair and his, all that shit. You show it to people on the street, and they'll say, he looks like somebody from Jersey Shore. Exactly. Anyways, so the two of them jabronis fucking have their little face-off. Apparently they have a match later on. Not like I give a fuck, because I hate both of these guys. I've never really liked Sheamus either. He's a fucking pet of Triple H. And that's the only reason Sheamus ever got over. He started working out with Triple H. He tried to do the same thing that Triple H did. Suck up to the guy who's top dog in the company. The only problem is Sheamus didn't have Stephanie to marry to guarantee his spot. So, anyways, okay. We have another Shield recap. This time they recap the moment. I don't remember the date, but it was way back when the Authority was beating the shit out of Daniel Bryan, and this was Triple H and Kane and Randy Orton and Bautista. They were beating the crap out of Daniel Bryan. And the Shield came in to save Bryan, and then they had a big brawl with the Authority. This was, I guess, right before the Authority became Evolution, temporarily. Yeah. So they recap that, and of course they hype up the Asylum thing again. Another commercial break, and coming back, here's the Shining Stars, doing another video promo, and I'm thinking, you motherfuckers have done nothing but talk after that first abysmal appearance on the show, however many weeks ago it was. It feels like an eternity. They haven't wrestled anybody else. And I really don't know what the fuck they're waiting for. Just have these motherfuckers come out and wrestle. The longer you keep them out of action, especially after doing nothing but jobbing out a couple of jobbers, that was also not a good way to debut them. I really don't know what the fuck they were thinking. That shit didn't really work for Ryback. What the fuck makes you think it was going to work for these guys? Anyways, after their lousy promo, we cut back to the arena, and the Primetime Players music hits. But since Darren Young is too busy being screamed at by Bob Backlund, Titus O'Neil comes out by himself. He doesn't have to be alone for very long, because while he's trying to make his way down the ramp, he gets jumped from behind by, guess who? The ugly Roger Rabbit motherfucker, Rusev, with Lana's hot ass in tow. And she's holding the U.S. belt, standing on the stage. Just standing there looking hot, while Rusev beats the crap out of Titus, throwing him off the ramp to the side of the stage, throwing him into the side of the stage, getting him back up on the ramp, and then super kicking him, or doing that weird standing sidekick thing that he does, into the back of Titus's bald, ugly head, knocking him the fuck out, basically. And then he gets on top of him, he breaks his back, he fucks his ass, and makes him humble. Referees come out, and they pull him off, and Rusev breaks free, and he gets him in it again, he's cranking on it again, breaking his back. Titus is out this whole time. He was out after the super kick, apparently. He sure as hell looks like it. He basically did nothing. He made no facial expressions. He was dead. I wouldn't say that he was corpsing, but he sure as hell wasn't doing anything. Oh yeah, Titus also got no reactions from the crowd when he was coming out. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. The referees finally pull Rusev off of Titus, and that's it. End of that segment. Another Shield recap. And since they jumped way ahead from the first to the second one, there's really nothing else left for them to recap but Seth's betrayal. Seth taking the chair to Roman and Ambrose and beating the fuckballs out of the two of them. And that's all they show, and more hype for the Asylum, and they cut to a commercial break. Coming back from the commercial break, they recap what just happened with Rusev attacking Titus. Whoop-de-doo, no one cares about this feud, move on. Ambrose's music hits, and he comes out to a pop. It's finally time for the Ambrose Asylum, about the only thing on this show that looked like it was even going to be interesting. He comes out to a pop, he starts talking. He introduces Seth as the scum of the earth. Cue Seth's music, and he comes out still to a pop. And I'm thinking, are you fucking people still kidding me with this bullshit? This scrawny little bitch has done nothing but spit in your faces since he came back. Instead of coming back as a face, which he should have done, they have him come back as a heel and spit in the face of everything and everybody. And you're still cheering for this bitch. Yep. Yeah. So Rollins comes out. And then Ambrose introduces Reigns simply as the World Heavyweight Champion. And Reigns comes out to boos mostly. There were some cheers, but it was a lot of boos. Which is ironic because it'll take a lot of boos to make Reigns seem watchable. I'm going to have mine ready this Sunday at the pay-per-view, by the way. Ambrose made a bad joke. Can't remember what it was. Either way, Ambrose is asking the two of them questions, and the two of them are going back and forth answering, and Ambrose is calling Seth a party pooper, which even draws a chant from the crowd, party pooper. Every party needs a pooper, that's why they invited you, party pooper, party pooper. Ambrose trying to cool things down. He's like, he's not really trying to cool things down. Seth is just being really sourpuss. Ambrose even calls him sourpuss. And he's like, how we can't get a smile out of you, Seth? What about all the good old times that we had when we was the Shield? We had a lot of fun back then. And Seth is like, yeah, I actually did have some good times when I was with the Shield with you guys, All the times, we beat people up, and there was the time in London when we came in from the helicopter. That was cool, right? And then there was the time that we beat up Evolution and Bautista. Or he didn't say Bautista, he said Batista, but the crowd started chanting Bautista. It's pretty clear he's not welcome back anytime soon, so stay away, Dave. I hear that they're already making Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So I'm sure you can have fun doing that. Yeah. So Seth is running down all these memorable moments from the Shield, and he's like, but the real fun things I remember the most was when I took that chair and beat the crap out of the two of you guys. And then there was... It's not really a Shield moment because Ambrose wasn't a part of it, but there was the time at WrestleMania when I screwed Reigns over and stole his WrestleMania moment and stole the title away from him. Those were all pretty good, right? Yeah. I didn't really see that one, Seth, because I wasn't watching the WWE at the time because your pansy ass and a lot of other things had bored me away from it. Rollins and Reigns go back and forth. They're talking about this Sunday at the pay-per-view. Ambrose finally starts going into the outro of the segment. He did his intros, now he's going to do the outro. He says, alright, so, we've heard from Seth and we've heard from Roman, and, we know what they feel about the pay-per-view this Sunday, so... the final question is, who's going to win? Is it going to be Rollins, the man who never lost the title, recapturing the title he never lost? Or is it going to be Roman Reigns successfully defending his title and remaining the guy? And then I'm thinking, there's a third option here too. And then Ambrose is like, or, and I'm like, yeah. Ambrose looks at both of them and he says, or I could win the Money in the Bank briefcase and cash in that same night. And whether it's you or you, I could walk out as World Heavyweight Champion. And the crowd, I think, popped the most for that option because it was like they kind of cheered for Rollins when Ambrose was talking about that. They were kind of dead quiet or booing when they was talking about Roman. And then they talked about Ambrose, and they're like, yeah! And I was like, yeah! Because that's the only possible outcome that will be acceptable to me. I don't fucking care about Rollins, and I sure as hell don't fucking care about Reigns. If Ambrose doesn't walk out as champion this Sunday, I will be thoroughly depressed. But, knowing WWE's track record for depressing me, that's probably exactly what's going to happen. He's not going to win. He's probably not even going to win the Money in the Bank, folks. Anyways, after Ambrose declares his intent to cash in that very night, if he can win the Money in the Bank briefcase in the first place. Rollins is like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. He starts going like he's going to walk out of the ring. Well, Ambrose kind of looks over at Roman, and the two of them almost look like they're going to have a little face-off. Rollins comes back, clocks Ambrose, who flies into Roman. Roman takes the bump and falls all the way out of the fucking ring. Rollins jumps all over Ambrose. Big brawl. Roman comes back in. Roman was about to get pedigreed by Rollins. Seriously, Seth? Get your own move. Triple H is gone from the roster right now. I don't want to be reminded of him at all. Stop using that shitty move. So anyways, like I said, Roman was about to take the pedigree from Rollins. Ambrose comes up, and since Seth has him hooked up like this, Ambrose is going to clothesline Seth, but Seth ducks. Rollins has to turn around to face Ambrose, and I think he clocks Ambrose, but then Seth turns around, eats the Superman punch from Roman, and Seth basically gives a flare flop and falls flat on his face. Rollins is down. Ambrose and Reigns are standing there. Reigns is just kind of looking down at Rollins. Ambrose comes up behind Roman, and we're thinking, oh, they're going to shake hands or whatever again. Nah. Ambrose, being the boss that he is, spins Roman around, kicks him in the fucking gut, cinches him up, and kerplants him on his dumb fucking head. Dirty Deeds plants that Samoan bitch on his fucking dome. Which, by the way, I thought headshots weren't supposed to phase Samoans. Did they forget about that? Or is that an old cliche that's long since gone? I don't know. I guess that's just hitting them into the turnbuckle. Planting them on their fucking head in a DDT is different. Although it's not, really. So anyways, yeah. Ambrose plants Roman on his bitch face, and Ambrose is left standing tall. So, once again, looks strong here. Really doubtful he's coming out on top on the pay-per-view. We cut backstage. There's John Cena and Shane McMahon. And it's another one of those things where you can see them talking, but we can't hear what they're saying. It's just a lead-up thing to lead up to something else. That something else being hype for the upcoming match between Paige and Charlotte, which will be up next. And they cut to another commercial break. Coming back from the break, there's Ambrose walking backstage, and up comes Stephanie. And they talk for a moment, and Stephanie tells Ambrose, you know, it looks like you're still ready for some action tonight, so I want you to understand you're going to be in a match tonight, the main event, no less, against Chris Jericho. And I'm thinking, again? Yada yada. Anyways, we cut back to the arena, the commentary table, and I hear Paige's music playing. But they're looking at the commentary table. There's Natalya and Becky Lynch sitting on commentary. Or sitting next to commentary, but they got their headsets on and they're doing commentary. Paige and Charlotte are already in the ring. So we get this match between these two, which turned out to be an okay match. Again, really the only notes I took here. Charlotte does the flare flop after taking what was basically a super kick from Paige. And okay. The finish of the match came. Charlotte had been knocked out of the ring or rolled out of the ring or something. I can't even remember. But she was on the outside of the ring. And of course, Charlotte was being accompanied by Dana Brooke, like she always is now. And Charlotte's on the outside of the ring, so the referee is counting, you know. Dana comes over, grabs Charlotte and picks her up off the floor, and chucks her back into the ring to make sure she doesn't get counted out, right? Well, she's thrown into the ring, and Paige grabs her, and I don't remember if they went immediately into the finish or not, but the punchline is Paige grabs Charlotte, cinches her up, and plants her with the Rampage, the package cradle DDT, whatever the fuck it is. But she plants her with the Rampage, and Paige actually picks up the 1-2-3, which drew a pop from the crowd, of course, because Charlotte's boring as fuck, and everybody loves Paige. So anyways, that's over. We cut backstage to the interview area. There's Renee Young. And she says, my guest at this time, Cesaro. And she asks Cesaro, you know, you've got a match coming up next or something against... you've got a match coming up against Sami Zayn. And the camera pans over and, hey, there's Sami. And Sami's just like, yeah, I'm just, you know... I figure, you know, Renee, you're going to ask Cesaro about the match. You know, I figure you'd want both of our opinions. So I'm just right here if you want to talk to me. You know. And Cesaro and Sami just kind of start bickering at each other. And it's really just Cesaro coming off as really bitter and prickish and heelish. And basically the gist of it is, Sami, you still have a lot to prove here in the WWE, because that was one of the things that Sami said. You know, you and me are friends, but like, you think that just because you've been here a couple of years now and I just got here, you think you're better than me or whatever? But Cesaro's like, yeah, you've still got a lot to prove here. That was basically the gist of it. They cut to a commercial break. Coming back from the break, we are at a backstage area. There's Charlotte and Dana. And Charlotte is just bitching at Dana for costing her the match. And they tease some dissension between the two of them. Charlotte is saying, you know, you're my protege, you know, you're not acting like it. I still have a lot to teach you. Whatever. Boring shit. Cutting back to the arena, Sheamus and Zack Ryder are already both in the ring. I can't remember which of their music was playing. I think it was Ryder's. No, it was Sheamus's. Sheamus's music was playing. Doesn't matter. They're both in the ring. It's time for their match. And their match was crap. Ryder had the upper hand for a little while. He did his broski boot. Looked like he stiffed Sheamus with it, because he cracked him right in the face with it. And he did it a second time, too. And he hit his elbow drop. Fucking hate calling it that. He was going for the Rough Rider. And of course, because that move is as stupid as it fucking gets, Sheamus dumps him up over the top, and I think Ryder even ate the turnbuckle on his way down. Ryder turns around and gets brogue kicked out of his punk-ass boots. He gets brogue kicked into the third row. 1, 2, 3, Sheamus fucking wins. So, yeah. Crowd was dead, of course, because again, the crowd don't give a fuck about Sheamus anymore either. Sheamus starts beating the crap out of Ryder. And I'm like, Okay, well, golf clap for beating up Ryder, but then again, everybody's beat up Ryder. Apollo Crews' shit music hits, and he comes running down to the ring. And he tackles Sheamus and starts beating the crap out of him, chucks him out of the ring, dives on Sheamus again on the floor, beats the crap out of him, chases Sheamus off, he jumps over the barricade and runs out through the crowd like a bitch. And that fucking moron on commentary, JBL, is like, he's not running. I'm like, he is fucking too running, you bitch! You'd know because you did the same fucking thing when you were a wrestler. That's why you held the fucking undisputed title for so goddamn long, Jibble. Because you ran away all the fucking time and wouldn't let anybody beat you. And you had your bitch fucking cabinet. Speaking of, Byron actually made mention of that. I don't know what Bradshaw said, but Byron was like, maybe I'll be in your cabinet. And I was like, yeah, because having a funky black dude in the cabinet worked so good the first time. Byron ain't that weird. And of course, neither was Orlando Jordan, or Orlando Jordan? Whatever his name is, or Orlando whatever the fuck. Oh, yeah, Orlando Jordan, because it was OJ. He wasn't that weird at the time either, but he got fucking weird when he went to TNA, let me tell you something. Don't ask. Don't ask. I don't want to talk about it anyways. Then they do this other thing. They were doing recaps of The Shield, and now they start doing other recaps. This time of previous Money in the Bank matches. First showing the one from 2010, where Kane won the briefcase, cashed in later that same night to beat Rey Mysterio for the World Heavyweight Championship. They show that. And then they hype up Cesaro and Sami Zayn, and they cut to a commercial break. Coming back from the break, there's Shane and Kane in the office again. And they're talking about something, but up comes Kevin Owens. And he's talking about Alberto Del Rio, saying, did you hear? He's just now showing up to the arena. And he's like, yeah, that's really unprofessional because the show started like an hour and a half ago or something. Or at least it feels like an hour and a fucking half ago. It feels like 3 hours ago. But he's like, yeah, he should be punished for this, you know? He should probably be taken out of the Money in the Bank match, right? Up comes Del Rio, cursing in Spanish at fucking Owens, saying, motherfucker, you did this. You're the one who fucking sent airport security after me, and they held me up for 5 fucking hours. Yada, yada, yada. The two of them start yelling at each other in their native tongues. Del Rio, of course, yelling in Spanish, and Owens yelling in fucking French. And Kane is like, whoa! Kane actually stops the insanity for once. And Kane says, you know, if I was running SmackDown, you know, again, he's still trying to make his bid for running SmackDown. I don't know why the fuck they're going here with this. We all know it's either going to be Stephanie or Shane running SmackDown. Anyways, but Kane says, if I was running SmackDown, what I think we need to do here is a little team building exercise. You two need to learn how to get along. So I'm putting the two of you in a tag team match, on the same team of course, against the Lucha Dragons. And, just to give you guys a little bit more incentive, if the Lucha Dragons beat you, they're going to replace you in the Money in the Bank match. And I'm thinking, okay, but this ain't going to happen because you're not in charge. But Shane's like, you know what, I actually like that idea. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. I'm like, okay, fucking whatever. So we basically get to watch a fucking squash match because the Lucha Dragons are not going to be stepping up to Owens and Del Rio. Anyways, that's basically the end of that segment. We cut back to the arena. Out comes Sami Zayn to a pop. And because of that promo he cut on Sami earlier, Cesaro comes out to no fucking reaction. The crowd was fucking dead for him. And I'm like, yeah, Cesaro, you probably shouldn't have did that. The crowd loves Sami. Don't fuck with him, or they will take away your overness. Not a good idea to do that. You're supposed to be a face, man. What are you doing acting like a heel like that? You can't do that. Anyways. So, we get the match between these two. And it turns out to be, I think, the first actually good match of the night. There was an Olay chant at the beginning of the match, commercial break, Cesaro does his uppercut train, and his deadlift superplex. The crowd chanted, "This is awesome." And the finish comes when the two, they were going back and forth, running into the ropes, doing these counters and stuff. And what ends up happening is Sami bounces off the ropes, and I don't know if Cesaro lifted him up or not, but Sami comes down on him. No. Sami came running, bent down, and they do the thing where he rolls up into the sunset flip, right? Basically what Sami does here is he does the Dead on Arrival, or the DOA, which was Suicide's finisher from TNA. It's the thing, like I said, you roll up and over, you do the sunset flip, it's a sunset flip powerbomb. But he nails it real good, with Cesaro's help, of course. And that got Sami the win. He beats Cesaro, and the crowd pops. Of course they did. And it looked like Sami was going to shake hands with Cesaro after the match because they had to milk it, showing the replay, and the commentators were like, "This was really good." And I know, because I saw it, you dumb fucks. But anyways, it was looking like Sami was getting ready to stick his hand out to Cesaro to shake his hand, and then they had to cut to something else. That being hype for the contract signing for John Cena and AJ Styles, which is going to be next. And they cut to a commercial break. Coming back from the break, Michael goddamn Cole is standing in the ring talking about the match between Cena and AJ Styles. It's something like, "This is a match that's good enough for WrestleMania. 15 years in the making this whole big deal out of this match." He introduces Cena, who comes out to a mixed reaction. It was probably about 50-50 for the cheers and the boos. But it was definitely mixed. And, I think after Cena got in the ring, oh yeah, Byron was on commentary talking, and he said, "I want to go back to 2 weeks ago when Cena returned." And so they show the recap of 2 weeks ago when Cena returned and got decked by AJ and then had his head punched in by AJ repeatedly. Yada, yada, yada. After that, Cena talks. He's putting over AJ. He even brings up PWG, Ring of Honor, and New Japan Pro Wrestling. And he looks over at Michael Cole and he says, "You know, Michael, for this part you're probably going to want to get out of the ring because it might get a little dicey," or whatever the fuck. And so he says that, we got this contract here to sign. Of course, they have the table sitting in the ring. And it looks like one of the nice tables, not one of the cheap wooden ones that somebody's going to get powerbombed through. But I happened to notice that sitting on the table was 2 contracts. And I was like, why the fuck? It's one match. What the fuck you need 2 contracts for? Anyways. But Cena's like, yeah, it's time to do this. But, all we need is AJ Styles. So if you would please come on out, AJ. AJ's music hits and he comes out to a pop still, even though he's obviously a heel. He got more of a face reaction than Cena did. So, yeah. And the crowd's even chanting AJ Styles. I think it was actually kind of a dueling chant, but the Let's Go Cena was really, really low. You couldn't hardly hear it. But it was mostly the AJ Styles chant. AJ gets in the ring and he starts talking. And he's talking up a big game, yada, yada, yada. And once again, this is where I notice that there's 2 contracts on the table. And even Cena brings that up. You'll notice I've got these 2 contracts on the... He says that I talked with Shane, something or other, So whatever, I've got these 2 contracts here. And he explains, the first one, if you sign this contract, it's going to be a one-on-one match, John Cena versus AJ Styles. One-on-one. No interference, just us. You sign the other contract, and they even show a nice zoom in on the contracts. The other one says John Cena versus AJ Styles with the club. You sign that contract, the club can interfere, whatever the fuck. And I'll fight until I can't fight anymore, but you're probably going to beat me because with the club's help, you can't lose. So he's basically telling AJ, you're fucked without the club. He even made a couple of bad jokes saying that your club's not full of bullets, it's full of bull. And Cena eggs on the crowd to start the AJ chant, the AJ Styles Let's Go Cena dueling chant. And I'm like, you fucking idiot. It doesn't really work that well when you have to egg them on. He had to do it 4, 5, 6 times before they actually started chanting it. Anyways, AJ starts talking and he runs down Cena saying, you're asking this question, what if would happen, if John Cena met AJ Styles in the ring? They keep talking about this like it's some dream match, and I'm thinking, no, it's not a fucking dream match, okay? Because we all know Cena's probably going to fucking win, because we're in the WWE, and they won't have Cena lose to AJ. Realistically, in a real wrestling match, in any other company, AJ Styles would win 10 times out of 10. Because AJ is a vastly superior wrestler. But AJ's running down Cena saying, if I had been here 15 years ago, you never would have been a 15-time champion. You never would have been a 2-time Royal Rumble winner. You never would have done this. You never would have done that. And Cena cuts him off, saying, you keep going through that same spiel that all the other punk-ass indie guys have said to me. It's the same shit that Daniel Bryan said. It's the same thing that Punk said. He doesn't actually mention those two. But that's basically the point he's getting to. All these other indie guys came in and they said I wasn't that good. I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm like, no, motherfucker. No matter what happens at this fucking pay-per-view, nothing is any different. Cena, you sucked then, you suck now, after all your fucking injuries, and you're always going to fucking suck. Because the matches are fucking predetermined, the winner is predetermined, and it doesn't come down to who's the best wrestler. Okay? It comes down to who Vince likes the most. And that will always be you and Roman Reigns. But Cena's shitting all over AJ, saying, you just like all them other indie punks. And I think this was the point where he made the Bad Bullet Club full of bull joke. And he said, you need to sign one of these contracts. You sign this one, the one-on-one, we find out once and for all who's actually better. You sign the other one, you won't need me to bury you, because you're going to bury yourself. And you're going to have to go back to Japan, because that's where you left your balls. That's basically what he said. AJ grabs the one-on-one contract, and he signs it. And then he holds it up to Cena and he says, I'm going to prove that I'm better than you. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he basically slammed Cena verbally. He throws down the contract and AJ leaves with his music playing. So, yeah. That's the end of that segment, mercifully. It went on way too long. We cut backstage, another one of those segments where they show Shane talking with somebody. This time it's Sammy. Again, we can't hear what they're saying. Doesn't matter. We get hype for the Lucha Dragons versus Owens and Del Rio, and that's going to be next. And we cut to a commercial break. And we will actually find out later, I think, what Sammy and Shane were talking about. I'll get to that. So anyways, coming back from the break, another Money in the Bank recap. This time from 2013, when Randy Orton won the Money in the Bank contract, and would later go on to cash in on Daniel Bryan, after Bryan had fought so hard to beat Cena at SummerSlam the one year, I believe it was. Triple H with the special referee, Triple H who would betray Bryan, and would allow Randy to cash in on him and win the title off of him. So yeah, they recap that. They didn't show any of the stuff with Triple H. They showed Randy handing Triple H the briefcase and acting as the referee, but they didn't show Triple H dropping Bryan on his head with a pedigree. Anyways, after that, cutting back to the arena, Del Rio's boring fucking music hits, and he comes out to no fucking reaction, just like always, because his punk ass should have stayed in Lucha Underground. And then Owens' music hits, and he comes out to a pop. The crowd still likes him despite he's a huge heel. Anyways, while he's coming out, we get a recap from SmackDown. Basically, the commentators were talking, these two just really don't get along, because back on SmackDown, the two of them had a match. They had a tag match against somebody on SmackDown. And they couldn't get along. Doesn't matter. The Lucha Dragons come out, and they get no reaction either. Because after Kalisto lost the fucking U.S. title, the Dragons ain't shit. And they ain't even involved in the whole tag team title debacle going on right now either. So, why the fuck these two are even still a team, I don't know. I guess they're just not ready to pull the trigger on the Sin Cara turning on Kalisto and heel turning. Whatever. So we get this match between Del Rio and Owens versus the Lucha Dragons, which turned out to be an okay match. But it was basically just Owens and Del Rio fighting with each other. Back and forth, dissension, a commercial break. There was a really good spot here where the Dragons were trying to take the upper hand. In fact, I think they actually had the upper hand. But Kalisto went for a suicide dive to Del Rio, who was on the outside of the ring. Well, Kalisto comes flying through the ropes, and Del Rio sidesteps him and grabs him and chucks him straight into the barricade. And he hits like a ton of fucking bricks. And I was like, motherfuck, that looked painful. So Kalisto's taken out. In the ring, Owens is able to hit the pop-up powerbomb on Sin Cara. Yeah. He hits the pop-up powerbomb on Sin Cara. 1, 2, 3. Del Rio and Owens win the match and keep their spots in the Money in the Bank match. And Owens has his hand raised, whatever. And he turns around and eats the concussion kick from Del Rio, which drew a C chant from the fucking crowd. It didn't last very long. After that, once again they show us a Facebook video of The Miz from on set of the Marine 5. He's with... It doesn't even matter. Let's just move on. More hype for Ambrose versus Jericho, which is going to be the main event. It's also going to be next, and they cut to another commercial break. Thank God this bullshit is almost over. Coming back from the commercial break, Stephanie and Owens are talking. And Owens is saying, did you see? Del Rio kicked me in the head. That's unprofessional, yada yada. And he also mentions that Sammy apparently now is going to be on commentary during the match between Jericho and Ambrose. And Owens says, I want to be on commentary too. And Stephanie's like, okay, fine. That's apparently what Sammy and Shane were talking about earlier. Kevin even mentions, yeah, Shane is letting Sammy be on commentary. And so he's like, I want to be on commentary too. Stephanie's like, yeah, fine. And up comes Del Rio, and he's all pissed off. He's like, whatever the fuck, I want to be on commentary too. And Stephanie's like, yeah, I think commentary's already a little crowded. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you, Del Rio. I'll make you the guest timekeeper. Okay, fine, whatever. That segment's over. We get a recap from the Ambrose Asylum segment earlier, showing Ambrose planting Roman on his bitch face. Cutting back again, there's Stephanie and Shane in the office bickering again with each other. Up comes Cesaro. Or no. They just announced that Cesaro is going to be the ring announcer. And then up comes Kane again. And they were actually talking about him. And then Kane comes up, and Kane's like, so I'm probably not getting the job as SmackDown GM, am I? And they're like, no. And Steph and Shane keep bickering about who's going to run SmackDown. And Shane basically says, you and me are both going to run Raw, and I'm going to run SmackDown. And that's the end of it. And he just walks off before Stephanie can even say anything. I'm like, really don't care either way. Anyways, moving on. Cutting back to the arena, Sammy and Kevin Owens are already out on commentary. And Del Rio is standing over in the timekeeper area. And Cesaro's in the ring getting ready to be the ring announcer. Jericho's music hits, and he comes out to no reaction. And Cesaro announces Jericho as being from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, but now residing in stupid Idiotville. And Jericho even gave him a dirty look from the ramp. Whatever. Then there was another commercial break. Coming back from the break, Ambrose's music hits, and he comes out, and Cesaro announces him as being from Cincinnati, Ohio, and always looking like he just got out of bed. Ambrose didn't seem all that affected by it, because I'm like, he does kind of look like he just rolled out of bed. Rolled out of bed after sleeping with Renee. Something we can all be a little bit jealous of. Anyways. Although, honestly, I'd still rather have Paige, but, Renee ain't bad. You notice we haven't seen a whole lot of other divas lately? Or the women, rather? We haven't seen Alicia Fox, mercifully. We've seen Natalya, Charlotte, Becky, Paige, Dana Brooke. We saw a little bit of Emma before she got injured. That's been about it. I happened to notice Sasha, a part of the crowd, on the stage at the beginning of the show when they were doing the moment of silence. So, she was there. Don't know why she wasn't on the show. Oh yeah, because it's not time for her storyline yet. She's probably going to be the one to take the title off of Charlotte. Anyways. So Ambrose comes out, and we get this match between Jericho and Ambrose. And I'm thinking, okay, we've got these two guys in the ring fighting. We've got Sami and Owens on commentary. We have Del Rio in the timekeeper's area holding a hammer the whole time. And Cesaro's sitting over there too as he's the ring announcer. And I'm like, this is just going to end in a big goddamn clusterfuck, isn't it? And I turned out to be exactly right, because that's essentially what happens. The start of the match, Ambrose slaps Jericho in the face after Jericho's mouthing off to him. Ambrose does his suicide dive on Jericho right in front of the commentary table, right in front of Sami and Owens. And speaking of, Dean goes over to Owens on commentary and knocks the fucking commentator headset off of him. He's kind of mouthing off to Owens. Jericho cracks Dean from the side. So, yeah. We end up with Sami and Owens. They both take off their headsets because they've been bickering with each other. They start looking like they're going to go at it. Fucking Del Rio comes over with a chair. And Cesaro's over there too. And it's looking like the four of them are going to get into it on the outside of the ring. We cut to a commercial break. Coming back from the break, Jericho winds up putting Ambrose in the walls of Jericho, which Ambrose is able to break by getting a hold of the ropes. Ambrose is able to hit his lunatic fringe elbow drop, and the finish of the match comes. Jericho hits Ambrose, he falls backwards, does his teeter-totter through the ropes, and as he comes to clothesline Jericho, Jericho jumps up to do the code breaker like he did at Extreme Rules. And just like at Extreme Rules, Ambrose catches him. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. He caught him, and I don't know if he slammed him or if he just put him down, kicked him, but he cinches him up and plants Jericho with the fucking dirty deeds. And Ambrose gets the win. So Ambrose gets the win, big pop. Soon as the match is over, Owens and Sami jump up from commentary and they don't jump into the ring, and just big brawl breaks out. Everybody's fighting everybody. And what ends up happening, we end up with Owens and Ambrose, Cesaro and Del Rio, all in a huddle in one of the corners of the barricade, over by the bottom of the ring, in the one corner that's by the entry aisle. Sami is in the ring. He jumps up to the top rope, and he does a nice flipping dive, wiping the four of them out. Even, I think, cracking Del Rio in the forehead with the heel of his boot. So, the five of them are all now wiped out. Earlier, somebody had tried to put a ladder into the ring, and it got kicked into their face. Jericho, of course, is nowhere to be found. He comes out of nowhere, grabs the ladder, throws it into the ring, sets it up in the ring. He climbs up the fucking ladder, and he takes down the Money in the Bank briefcase, even sitting on it with his leg crossed, like he was doing last week. This has actually become kind of a meme on the internet, showing Jericho with his legs crossed, just sitting in random places. But he's sitting there on the ladder with the Money in the Bank briefcase saying, "This is mine, I'm gonna win," and I'm like, motherfucker, that better not goddamn happen. Because you're the most boring motherfucker right now. And you don't need the fucking Money in the Bank briefcase to win the title. This would be like when Cena won the fucking Money in the Bank briefcase. That's the end of the show. We end with Jericho holding the Money in the Bank briefcase, saying, "This is mine, I'm gonna win." And everybody else collectively face palming so fucking hard. That was the end of the show. I was originally thinking that I was going to do this episode of The Rant as a live stream while I played WWE 2K16 and just beat the shit out of Roman Reigns. Because that would be a lot more interesting than this show was. And I'm talking about Raw, not my show. My show is way more interesting. At least I hope it is. But anyways, as always, we're going to go back over the show. And once again, as recently, I was not able to figure out the name of the arena that they were in. It was not the Superdome, the New Orleans Superdome that the one WrestleMania was in. In fact, somebody mentioned at one point, I think it was Rollins in the promo, he was talking about the Superdome when I screwed Roman out of his title. But yeah. Apparently they're across the street from the Superdome, but it doesn't matter, who cares. Once again, the show, or the matches, we saw the Vaudevillains and the Hair Club for Men defeat the New Day and Enzo and Cass in a decent 8-man tag match. We saw Paige defeat Women's Champion Charlotte in an okay match. We saw Sheamus basically job out Zack Ryder in a crap match. Sami Zayn defeated Cesaro in a good match. Alberto Del Rio and Kevin Owens defeat the Lucha Dragons in an okay match. And in the main event, we saw Dean Ambrose plant Chris Jericho on his bitch face with a nice dirty deeds. And Ambrose got the win in the main event, only for a nice big brawl to break out, which ended with Jericho grabbing the Money in the Bank briefcase and holding it aloft while declaring his going to win at the fucking pay-per-view this Sunday. Oh boy, I hope not. This episode of Raw, the go-home episode of Raw before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. We've got one episode of SmackDown to slog through, and then we got the pay-per-view this Sunday. I have no faith. I have no confidence in this pay-per-view. Early predictions, I'm not getting anything that I want. Roman will probably retain the title against Seth. Ambrose probably won't even win the damn Money in the Bank contract, let alone be able to cash it in. And Cena's probably going to beat AJ Styles. So those are really the only matches that matter. Because you have the match of Apollo Crews and Sheamus. I believe they said that was going to be on the pre-show. We have the 4-way tag team title match. Hair Club for Men, Vaudevillains, Enzo and Cass, and the New Day. And for some moronic fucking reason, this is not an elimination style match. It really should be. You want to make these titles seem interesting, you want to make them seem valuable, we need to have a definitive fucking winner. Not who can squeak out the lucky win. You know, one fall to a finish. That's bullshit. Elimination style, last team standing wins. That's the way it fucking should be. That's how you know who deserves to be the fucking champions. But they're not going to do that. Because they don't like doing elimination style matches anymore. For whatever dumb fucking reason. Who cares? That was Raw from June 13th, 2016, New Orleans, Louisiana. It sucked. boring. Again, Rollins is still a bitch. Roman is still boring as fuck. And so is fucking Chris Jericho. Like I said, folks, I got no faith, no confidence for this pay-per-view. And I really don't think SmackDown is going to change it at all. So, I have been jago107, your host, your World Heavyweight Predictions Champion. That was Raw. Thank you for watching. Join us next time for SmackDown. We'll see you next time for SmackDown. Hopefully I'll be able to actually get the video up on time for once. So thank you for watching, and good night. Good night.